Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time in every life when the question must be asked, who am I and who am I becoming? Life is not a one-act play. It is a masterpiece of evolving chapters, each calling us to shed the old and embrace the new. Yet too often we stand still, tethered to yesterday's identity, afraid to take the steps that lead to transformation. But hear me when I say this. You are not bound by the expectations of others. You are not confined by the mistakes of your past. Life is a journey, not a destination. It is a river, ever-changing, carving its path through mountains, valleys, and plains, refusing to be confined by the barriers that stand in its way. Too often we treat our lives as though they are set in stone, as though the person we are today must be the person we are forever. But that is not the nature of life. Life calls us to evolve, to grow, to shed the layers of who we were and embrace the infinite possibilities of who we can become. From the moment we are born, we are creatures of transformation. This may be.
Welcome back. This is Kyla P. Barnes, your financial chef and coach. We are rounding out week 6 of so much data in the course, the Jean Galay's financial blueprint. By this time in the course, you should be finished with any of these strategies I've mentioned. If you were to type them in and watch even the shorts of video, it's going to make you that much more knowledgeable. Real estate is a big topic to dive in and tear apart. In fact, we could probably spend a whole month on real estate and would not cover everything that we need to. But it is a major pillar for generating wealth, which is why I put it in this class. The names I mentioned during this particular call are ones that I want you to stop the tape and go back and listen to, write them down. If you know someone in your area who's knowledgeable or that you see as a prominent figure being knowledgeable in real estate, ask them questions, pick their brain, and definitely attend the class on Thursday next week. I also would like to lead with or wrap up this call, because I didn't want to be too long, with making sure in all the topics that we've covered, as well as all the topics we're going to cover, you stay open to the fact that what you know is sufficient, but deploying it is going to require a strategy. I don't want you to be intimidated by things that you don't fully know or understand, because there is money behind you understanding a concept. I like the quote that I saw on a meme, I'm thinking maybe Facebook or on the internet, that said, a mind open to change and opportunities can never go back to complacency. I also saw another quote that said, there is so much the world can teach you from small to great, but you have to decide to move forward. If in the event you don't decide to move forward, then you are going to find yourself somewhat stuck. If I were to give you some of my pearls of wisdom as it relates to trading real estate, it is to stay open in the mindset that you know something, but there's always more to learn. Keep your drive high. Stay ambitious as well as resilient. You are going to be told no, and that's not going to work, or that's a stupid idea, by people who have a small mind, people who don't know very much, and that's okay. Not everyone can know everything about everything unless they've done some of something everywhere. You're going to need to increase your ability to network, and to network into spaces in which you're the small player. There have been many times in which I, being a person who finds myself knowledgeable, have been in a room with people who knew way more than me. And I wasn't intimidated. I just was like ready to absorb. But your ability to network, as well as staying flexible to learning and flexible to realizing you're not the smartest person in the room is going to put you in a place to where you can collect the most from that moment. I was going to use an analogy of the most rainwater. If it's raining and there's no other water source, a good financial acumen as well as a good mindset will take you much further than behaviors that you deploy just out of complacency or out of routine. How you hold yourself, what you think, and your mindset allows for more opportunities to come your way. And that all goes to say that you should stay flexible. One other topic that I'm going to touch on during this call is streams of income. It has been said that you should have 7 streams of income. I believe it's also hinted at in the book of Ecclesiastes in the Bible. I want to say it's maybe an 11th or the 2nd chapter. I have to go back and find that. But streams of income are another way, if you're looking to increase your wealth, that you can obtain something faster because you're doing more than one thing. So when we think of the ways to make the most amount of money, as I mentioned previously, it is to be first to brand it. It is through real estate, it is through investing, and it's through entrepreneurship. The best way in which you're able to maximize what you're doing, if in the event you don't choose any of those other items, is to provide solutions. Solutions are critical to making sure that you're using your natural gifts to produce something that is in abundance in the land. I have said this before in other classes, and I've had a few students say, well, when you say abundance in the land, what do you mean? I am referring to wealth. Wealth is in the land. Wealth is already out there. You just have to go obtain it. If you were to talk to someone who is panhandling, or who is, in a very loose term, begging on the street, and if they were to give you a full, honest answer of how much they make in the course of a week, I think it would blow your mind. I think if they added up all of the charity, the goodwill, the money, the funds that they get here and there, as well as some of the discounts that they get and free food, I think they make more than you and me put together. They have found a way to do something that requires maybe a fair amount of energy, but it requires less structure, and they're producing somewhat of the same result. I'm mentioning that because that also is a stream of their income. It may not necessarily be something we're going to seek after, but that is a source of their income. By definition, income is the money or compensation you receive in exchange for goods or service. If you give no service and you produce no good, but yet you have income coming in, that is effortlessly called a free lunch. We know that free lunches don't exist in society, but people who are not a part of society per se are able to sometimes reap the best benefits. I don't know where your mind goes when I say that, but I do know that there's some people either who you knew or you currently know that seem to always know a guy who knows a guy that can get around the system. That too is someone who's able to produce income without necessarily exchanging goods or services. Income into your household is more than just what you work for weekly. Income can be anything that is considered a service to someone else. So if my godson was to go mow the lawn and someone was to pay him, he would generate income. Income doesn't have to be just trading hours for dollars behind someone's desk or behind someone's counter. Solutions are needed everywhere. If there is someone who needs help with their lawn, maybe get help with their lawn. You do the help. If there's someone who needs help with braiding, if you know how to braid, braid. If you don't know how to braid, learn how to braid. If there's someone who, is always constantly going to the golf range, maybe that's something in which they enjoy of pleasure. But what other solutions could you provide that would also be able to pick up income from that party? Sales is a topic in the mindset of people who are not groomed to accept no, or to eat what they kill, or to how do I want to say this? I want to say that sales is a tough topic, period. It's a tough thing to do. But if you are accustomed to understanding that no is not personal, it just means not right now and not with this particular set of variables, you become closer to being better at sales. Why am I mentioning sales? Well, because sales is a place in the United States, either under entrepreneurship or inside of established organizations, that generates more money, if not very comparable to some of the low-level executives in most organizations. So if you wanted to obtain a higher form of income from your company, sales could be another avenue. And if you don't believe me, you can always ask people who did very well in sales, and they'll tell you that they definitely broke the 5 and the 6, maybe even the 7-figure mark, just because it depends on what you're selling, the value of the ticket, but that also is a very, very good stream of income. On the slide here, I have listed, we're going to cover the 7 types of income if we have not covered some already. The 7 types of income thus far are earned income, which is what you get from a job, profit, which is what you get from selling a product or service, interest, which is what we've covered in this class, rental, which is what we're going to cover, and also what we briefly touched on related to real estate, capital gains, that's going to be associated with the sale of stock in which you have sold it for more than you've purchased, dividends, which we've covered, and royalty, which we haven't covered, which is going to be intellectual property, licensing, patents, and copyrights. I typically every class will give an example of someone who is an outlier of the first form of income, which is earned income, because it matters that when you are looking to invest, you spend a certain amount of time creating a list of what you want to invest, why you want to invest, how much is it, and how much access will you have, or how much profit will you make from investing in that. For this particular class, I would like to cover the individual who has 7 jobs, but only spends about 1 hour doing it. I know it's going to be somewhat difficult to understand, but I know a party who details cars, who has a website, who also brokers video games, some of the old Nintendo, the Sega video games. They also know how to do dreads. They trade in the stock market. They like trading Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not necessarily something I'm into, but they do like trading Bitcoin. And their house is a duplex. The duplex, the investing, the website, the swapping of items, that could be on eBay, that could be on Facebook Marketplace, as well as creating a list of how they trade, what they trade, and when they're going to trade it. Of those 7 ways that they make money, they don't necessarily have to spend a lot of time doing that. Investing, yes. Creating a stock list, sure. But the other forms, not so much. Doing hair, dreads, it takes a while. But if it's something that they enjoy, then it's not really work, is it? It's really just something of a hobby that we're engaging in. But I find this individual to be somewhat brilliant because they've bucked the system and they're not even 30 yet. They always seem to have access to money, but they don't necessarily spend it, which is good. They are producing income to their portfolio, which sometimes almost matches what they're able to make in the course of a week. So for me, this individual that I'm mentioning, and I won't mention their name because I didn't ask them if I can mention their name during this class, but this individual that I'm mentioning is one in which has created so many streams of income that they don't necessarily have to sit behind a desk job if they don't want to. And you can do the same thing. If you were to add up how much money you spend in the course of a day or in the course of a week, and you then take that amount of money and you multiply it times 7, if you find that you are able to maybe have a cost of $400, $300 at the end of the week, and you go out and you produce of your 7 streams of income, maybe more, maybe less, you're able to produce 300, 250, then that means that you're coming up with natural solutions that people need in order to move that dial forward. People who have money, people who have a portfolio that they're able to make money off of, they don't necessarily always spend the time behind a desk doing something. They are often out there in the world looking for more ways to be profitable and looking for more solutions to other people. I hope that you found this information to be helpful. I hope it wasn't too laborious or laborious to listen to. But I have found that when we think outside the box, we get the best results. And one of the ways for us to think outside the box is to look at all the ways